Okay, so good afternoon and welcome to an Signal Alliance security webinar on protecting your business against emerging ransomware threats. I want to welcome you all. And as I said earlier, my name is Ebuka Ezeji, and I will be moderating this session. So a brief intro. A brief intro to what Signal Alliance is all about, or what we do as Signal Alliance. So Signal Alliance is a diversified technology company with an experience of over 2 decades, and we are synonymous as first in the sphere of most ICT adoption and integration, not only in Nigeria, but West Africa at large. And we have a plethora of solutions we deploy across sectors, but as we move on, we will discuss this elaborately. And just to prep us, this webinar will be for 45 minutes. Feel free to ask your questions, and we will take them as we move on. So I want to introduce our speakers. We have Kelechi Agu. Kelechi Agu is the cybersecurity lead here at Signal Alliance. We have Mr. Yinka Adioshu. He's the lead solution architect at Signal Alliance. And also we have Victor Ogu, who's the cyber security pre-sales. So these are the speakers, and we will be engaging with them for the next 40 minutes. Okay, so the first question is why ransomware?
Okay, so what is ransomware? Well, first of all, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Kelechi Agu, as said by my colleague. Ransomware is malware, but would like to actually classify it a bit differently from the other malware that is out there. So part of the mantra of what we'll be discussing today is how sophisticated ransomware is. And when we say sophisticated, we'll really go into that, as we move along in the conversation. But essentially what ransomware does is to deny users and businesses access to their company resources. Those resources really include data, and it could also include the systems that they use to operate and do their work. And those systems could be personal systems, they could be servers, they could be mobile systems, right? So that's what ransomware does in effect. But it can do a little bit more than that as well. And ransomware can do things like data exfiltration. It can also corrupt data, or totally delete it. It depends on how malicious really the attacker wants to get with the business or the target individual that they've attacked.
So I don't know if the other speakers want to say something about it. What is ransomware? Okay, let me ask Victor Ogu.
Okay, thank you very much. Like Kelechi had just stated, ransomware is more sophisticated in its approach. Unlike other malwares, ransomware doesn't require any human factor to do whatever it wants to do. Once it gets in via any means, email, USB stick, it replicates itself most of the time. They act as one, they come as one most of the time. So it doesn't require you to click any button, it doesn't require you to do any download. They just replicate themselves and spread around your enterprise. That is why ransomware is a different, comes in a different form, and it's very dangerous to your business.
Okay, so if I may ask, do we have any statistics around ransomware? You know, so I know recently everybody's worried about ransomware, but it wasn't the same it wasn't the same 3 years ago, 4 years ago. It wasn't as popular as this, like 5 years back.
Yeah, well, we can say that ransomware wasn't as popular as this maybe even 3 months ago, but it's been around for a while, for a little while, really. I mean, you could talk about maybe the first couple of sophisticated attacks coming up in 2012 or in 2017. That's 5 years. Um, Obviously, with the recent WannaCry attacks, it's taken it to a new level. If you're asking for statistics, at least we know of 200,000 businesses that were affected. You know, at least across the globe, and a few in Africa as well. I mean, they focused a lot on Europe, but still, this was a wide net, and it really, for the first time, opened up, I would say, the potential, as in the sort of mass damage that ransomware can do. And like Victor says, because ransomware can be a self-acting malware that doesn't, sometimes some flavors of ransomware don't need any human intervention. They don't need the human vector to spread it. They might need the human vector to infiltrate the business in the first place, but once they're in, they just spread like a worm. And so it's popular now. It's been widespread before, but it's really widespread now, and not just for the victims, the attackers as well. Those who see the success of the WannaCry, massive attack, they are encouraged. And if you look at the numbers, some businesses paying up to $40,000 to get their data back. And so somebody with a criminal mind is thinking, I can make 40,000 in a few days if I am successful with this toolkit.
So I'm just curious, is it possible that even after paying the 40,000, they'll request for another money again, or?
Yes, these bad actors, they are
Yeah.
the bad actors. They operate in the dark web. You don't know what they are capable of. You don't know what they will do at every point in time. They might ask for a ransom, collect a ransom, exfiltrate your data, corrupt your data, do whatever they want to do with your data. So you paying ransom doesn't end it. Because while your files are locked down, some other things are happening in the background. Exfiltration might be happening in the background. Data deletion might be happening in the background. So it's just a bad thing to happen. You don't have to allow it to happen in the first place.
Okay. So our next slide says types of ransomware. So we have the encryptors versus the lockers. So can you explain that, Kelechi?
Yeah. So ransomware comes in a lot of different flavors. CryptoLocker is on its version 4, but if we're looking at it from a 10,000-foot view, there are two major types of ransomware. You've got encryptors, and then you've got lockers. And what they both do is deny you access to something valuable to you, right? But they do it in different ways. Encryptors encrypt files, right? So they actually go after data files, system files, and encrypt them, change their extensions, so that your programs, your applications cannot recognize them. We know the drill, how it works. The lockers, what they do is they lock the entire system. They lock the victims' computers. But funny enough, lockers are actually less of a problem than encryptors, because lockers don't actually encrypt. So what they do is they lock the system, right? But they might not encrypt the files in the system. So there are ways to remediate on that. I mean, boot in safe mode, for instance, and install a reputable malware and anti-malware or endpoint solution that can recognize the ransomware and then remove it. But for encryptors, on the other hand, that's already encrypting the system files. Now you have a decryption problem, and they've actually got access of the data. So it's actually that's what we'll really be focusing on. So WannaCry, for instance, was an encryptor. WannaCry's full name is WannaCryptor, so it's an encryptor type ransomware.
Okay. Okay, so you can always ask your questions. Just feel free to type it, and we will respond to your questions immediately. So moving on, our next slide says why ransomware. So Victor, let's start with why ransomware.
Okay, ransomware is one of the easiest ways to make money. It's quite easy to make money with ransomware. Your normal malware will come in, exfiltrate your data, corrupt your data, cause disruption in your enterprise. But the real cash comes when you use a ransomware for an attack. So with ransomware, you can easily make money. You lock up a system, lock up their files, you encrypt their files, and at that moment, the owners of these files won't be able to get a decryptor immediately. It takes time to get a decryptor. So one option is you pay the ransom as they demanded. Also, it's now very easy to create a ransomware out there. In the dark web, they use very, very more sophisticated tools to get the ransomware out there. Also, vulnerabilities are everywhere. Ransomware exploits these vulnerabilities. That's why ransomware is much easier. Plus, the ransomware as a service, people can use it maliciously at any time. They can contract somebody to send a ransomware to an organization maliciously. So basically, that's why they use ransomware.
Any other thing to add?
Well, yeah. I mean, Victor said a lot of things around it. The ransomware as a service, which is mind-boggling sometimes to think of. So these guys are business-minded. So you have software as a service, you have storage as a service, and now you've got ransomware as a service in the dark web. I mean, these guys have their own community. They create ransomware toolkit. So you almost don't even have to have any technical knowledge. The toolkit, you just get it, know how to use it. It has the payload. You target maybe, for instance, a website, right? And you poison the website, and you know that a lot of people are going to visit that website over the course of time, and they do, and you're just waiting. It's like you cast a net, and then fish fall inside, and you're making money. Wow. So I mean, ransomwares, and not just you're making money. You have to understand that because of the cryptocurrency evolution, it's easier to extort now because of the anonymous nature of cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, for instance. So no ransomware attacker will ask you to pay money into an account. That is traceable. What they will ask you to do is pay into a blockchain wallet for it. And you cannot trace that transaction. You cannot even verify that the name of the blockchain wallet is actually the identity of the attacker. So the anonymousness of the internet. And because Bitcoin has value, you've really paid them money. You actually they're going to take that and they're going to liquefy it somewhere, and they've extorted from you. So the ease of use the fact that you can literally just cast it out like a net and trap a whole bunch of, and also that you can do targeted attacks. That makes it more appealing to these guys.
Wow. Okay, so moving on. Who are the targets? Who are the targets? Kelechi, who are the targets?
Well, I think it goes without saying. I just said it. Everyone, everyone is a target. Unlike other malware or attacks that usually target just businesses, because you say, hey, these are the guys that have the data you're looking for. These are the guys that you can sell their information to the highest bidder, and they will pay, like competitors, for instance. But because of what ransomware does, anyone can be a victim. So, for instance, we could be sitting down here now, and our system gets encrypted, or our files get encrypted, and the first thing that a victim is going to do usually is panic. They're going to panic and they're going to say, what do I do? I've got to pay for this data that has been, I'll get it back.
Okay. They say data is a currency of the digital economy. We are in a digital economy. Most businesses, small businesses, enterprises, they work with data. And data is the currency in operation right now. So everyone is involved. Everyone is a target. Every business is a target, whether small business, whether enterprise, even individuals that have something maybe on their system, on their mobile devices, whatever however sensitivity these data are. It might be a personal picture, it might be personal image, it might be checks and everything that individual have on their mobile. So it doesn't matter, whatever you have is a target.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you, Victor. Yeah, my name is Yinka Adeosho. Ransomware has been around for a while, and I could remember last year there are 2 financial institutions that are actually being hit by ransomware, which are not known to, I would say, 99.99% of Nigerians. Only few people out there are aware of this attack. They've been attacked, and the banking operation is actually being halted for close to 3 to 4 hours. I could remember, before they have to make a commitment and make a payment. So we're talking about ransomware. Of course, to everybody's mind in Nigeria is that, well, we've never heard ransomware hit anybody in Nigeria, so it's a less of concern to us. But the truth is, it's out there. And based on analysis that we've conducted, there are a lot of malicious phishings running on a lot of systems in Nigeria. Maybe because they are not ready, or they are not committed, willing to create an attack in Nigeria. And that is the reason why we are doing this sensitization, to keep people aware of the form of threat that is out there. So ransomware is not only meant for businesses, but also for everybody. Whether you are running on your mobile phone, as Victor has said, or you are, of course, it could be pictures. I remember also early this year, when that ransomware went rampant, there's an old woman, which, because of holding these pictures of her grandchildren, she was made to cough out, I think, about $500 to $750 as a form of payment before the machine is being decrypted. So, because we are not being hit right now, doesn't mean we shouldn't be prepared for that to happen. So, ransomware is everybody's business to protect.
But amazingly, I know of a hosting company, a Nigeria hosting company, that got hit like I think 3 weeks or 4 weeks back. You understand? And it affected all the companies they are hosting for. So I think some Nigerian companies too have been affected, but nobody's coming to speak out to say, oh,
Yeah,
Exactly.
and that's the challenge because people don't talk. And look, you understand why there's a certain degree of confidentiality. You know, you're a business, and if you come out and admit the fact, especially in Nigeria, that you've been compromised, you lose the faithfulness of your customers, and you give the edge to your competitors. But at the same time, there should be a level of information sharing because then when you keep mute, other people don't see the attack coming and they also get hits, and then all of you are in the same mess. And collaboration is key because look, it leads right into what we're talking about, the damage caused by ransomware. And part of the effectiveness of ransomware is the lack of awareness about how it works. I mean, you're seeing, 97% of phishing emails, deliver ransomware. So usually sometimes you see phishing emails and they sort of infiltrate your network using that phishing email. The malware infects your computer, and you download an antivirus or an endpoint protection agent, and you take it off. What makes ransomware so different is that once it encrypts your computer or your system files, now you can't even work. You can't even work to download the malware, the anti-malware solution that you need to take it off. So they've got a hold of your system. That's why it's a ransom. So they've got the hold of your system, and now you're left to one option. And really, that option is not an option you want to take, because you see, paying these attackers only encourages them. The faster you pay, and they say, okay, well, this person has money, and they tell, and look, you're at their mercy at that point in time. So you could pay $750, and they tell you, thank you very much. Now you've got to pay another $500 because we just feel like it. What do you do at that point in time? You've lost $750 already. You're not getting it back, right? And you still don't have your data. I mean, look, 1 in 4 paying users do not get their data back. So for every 4 people attacked, 1 doesn't get their data back, right? And if you extrapolate it, right, the data shows that 42% of ransomware victims recovered their data. So that's a staggering 58% that do not recover their data. So one of the things that we advocate is do not pay. Paying does not guarantee you recovery. And sometimes some of these attackers, remember, any Tom and Harry can download a toolkit and attack you. And they don't even have the expertise to decrypt. So they encrypt your files. You pay them.
And then they can't.
And then they tell you, oops, we're in the same boat as you.
Yeah.
Thank you for the money, but good luck with decrypting. So don't pay. And look, there are other ways to get infected apart from phishing emails. You've got drive-by downloads. I mentioned that earlier. If you go to a poisoned website, it downloads itself to your system behind the scenes. You do not see a progress bar. You don't know that something, and it's a very small file sometimes. It just downloads onto your system. Some of them are time-based attacks, so they will not start encrypting that day. They'll sort of wait and watch, and then if it's sort of like, okay, they're smart enough to detect whether there's some sort of agent or endpoint protection on this, and if there isn't or you can't detect them, they start encrypting. So, and then there are vulnerability exploits, like Victor said. If one person in a company gets infected, I would say by the end of the day, almost everybody in that company will be infected, especially if there's a common vulnerability exploit. For instance, with WannaCry, it was taking advantage of the eternal blue exploit and spreading like wildfire. So you had entire companies that they had their systems encrypted. So let's do the math. Let's say you're a company and you've got 500 users and 500 systems, maybe about 30 servers, for instance, and all of them are encrypted, and for each one they say pay $500. So 500 times 500, then you know what that is.
Yeah.
That's what you're paying.
Wow.
And you might not get your data.
Yeah. Okay. So.
Okay.
Yeah, Victor.
Let's go back to the phishing. Phishing has become something very popular right now. According to the Verizon Data Breach Investigation Report, email phishing is the #1 driver of malware infection, and 30% of email phishing has an open rate. Sorry, okay, the open rate of a phished email has 30% opening rate. So phishing is something that we should take very, very seriously. Now, how does phishing happen? Email phishing can come in 2 ways. They can come as an attachment or a download link. Now, if you have an attachment, for your attachment, you have like, from the same report, you have like 38% of email phished coming as an attachment, and you have like 18% coming as an email link. So it is very critical that you have an email gateway in place in your organization because of the sophistication in phishing emails being sent out. Now, on vulnerability, if we remember, the WannaCry exploited the SMB vulnerability. The SMB vulnerability is just one part of vulnerability, which is under the database and network protocol vulnerability, because the SMB is an application layer network protocol. We have other vulnerability like OS platform vulnerability, database software vulnerability, and maybe sometimes database configuration flaws. So we have to check all these things. Every area where our systems are vulnerable, we have to make sure that we cover them.
Okay, yeah, so thanks, Victor. So feel free to ask your questions as we move on. Our speakers here can attend to them. So meaning for Nigerian business now. So let's bring this down. Let's bring this home. You know, I just told you about a hosting company in Nigeria that got hit, and I think for like 2 days, when you go to website at which was hosted on their platform, you will see that you've been affected by WannaCry and then pay, I think that was $250 to a particular Bitcoin number. They even had FAQs there that, you know, you couldn't ask questions. Why did we attack you? They gave answers. It was amazing. You know, then contact us. Then there was a link to a Facebook page, you know. And it was very surprising to me. That was the first experience I had. So let's bring this down. The meaning of this whole thing to Nigerian businesses.
Well, it's I think it's become clearer to Nigerian businesses that something needs to be done, you know, about our security posture in general. You know, it's funny, you talked about the FAQs and whatnot, and sometimes they'll tell you, oh, why are you seeing this screenshot? You were careless, and now you've been hacked, and now you have to pay. You know, the very, very sarcastic and psychological ways that they break you down.
Yeah.
You know, and sort of stick it to your face like, yes, we got into your system and you're about to lose money. You know, and they really threaten you. What it means to Nigerian businesses is, look, WannaCry was an eye-opener. You know, we learned a lot from it. Nigerian businesses, I think, in my opinion, have benefited from a lack of serious attention by the malicious darknet users that can really tear businesses down. When I say tear businesses down, I mean a breach can actually destroy, run aground a business. It really can. But these guys, like I said earlier, are not just doing this for fun. They actually want to make money. And because of the general perception of Africa, which is there's no money here. The money here is not worth, going that extra mile for. So we've benefited from a lack of attention. But what it means is that we also have a window to take advantage of it and really retool the way we protect our businesses and how seriously we take security. We need to stop doing projects the way we do them, where we think of security as the last mile. And what I mean by last mile is, let me set up my data center first, and do all of that, and then I put a firewall in front and protect everything. I'm not thinking of security through the building process. I'm thinking of it after I've set up everything, and then I say, hey, once a Cisco ASA be good, or it'll be great, and let's just put it on, and it even reduces the effectiveness of a very good product. So we need to rethink security itself. We need to think about how, from a top-down view of the organization, security is a responsibility not of some group of guys near a very cold data center that you call when you can't browse to Facebook, but it's the responsibility of the entire company. I mean, from the CEO all the way down to your youth corper who is in your organization. I mean, it is that important. So, and another thing is, a lot of businesses see, security as an expense venture. I've got to pay money to get these solutions in here, and I am not seeing value. I haven't gotten attacked, and with regards to attack, it's not a question of if, it's always a question of when, But what I usually encourage businesses to do is to do a cost versus cost analysis. So for instance, what would it cost you to get all your data back today if all your systems got encrypted by WannaCry, for instance? Versus what would it cost you to do the right things? And I'm not just talking about solutions. Some of these things are processes, and hoping we'll talk about them in a few minutes. It's just business processes that and that you can put in place, leveraging what you already have, just to reduce the risk. So vis-a-vis. And if you do that, I'm pretty sure you'll come up with the same answers that probably other people have as well.
Okay. Any other?
Okay. I just want to say Nigerian businesses security more seriously. We have to take it very, very seriously. Where we need to adjust, we need to adjust there, and we need to segment our security posture. Just like Kelechi said, maybe you just think if you put a firewall, you've secured your entire network from the endpoint to your servers to your application. Everything is secure with a firewall at your perimeter. We have to rethink how we look at security. You have to see security as something that is all-encompassing. Every area of your business needs to be secure because the attack surface is very, very wide. It could come in any form, in any way, from your endpoint to your privileged users to your applications. It can come anywhere. So we have to rethink how we look at security and find a way to segment security to all areas of our business.
Okay. Okay, so Mr. Yinka.
For me, security business is a serious business and it's everybody's business. Looking at, I'm going to cite an example. If I'm a customer and I have my data residing on each of customer services, desktops or devices, my contact phone number is there, my house phone number is there, my email address is there, couple of so many other things, not only me, and so many other thousands customers. And if this information is being spread across hundreds of devices on your corporate network, and there's an attack, I could remember what happened to Sony Entertainment. We were being attacked and hacked, and a lot of user information. And of course, for my email address to be leaked out in the first place is a credibility from the business that I keep my data with. So it's a form of credibility thing. So this has to be taken more serious, and it's not about a nice to have, like when we're talking about security there, like what Kelechi said, that every business considers security as the last thing to be done. Say, oh, let's just put firewall there. That should be sufficient. It's not all. We already have an antivirus running, and of course, this we'll still talk about in the next, I think, few slides away from here. So security, it's something that has to be rethink by everybody, not only from IT unit alone. Is a thing that has to be rethink from the head, from the CIO, from the CEO, from the board, down to the last bottom of an organization, whether it is even the gate man. That's what I think is needed for Nigerian business.
Okay.
I think one of the important points too, that Yinka mentioned is that security is everybody's problem. And when we say everybody, we're not just talking about everybody within the business. And this is not to dock on Nigerian businesses. Trust me, Microsoft said, that, hey, look, part of the reason why WannaCry was so successful was because companies didn't apply patch updates on time. It was that simple. We're going to talk about some of those things, but just doing the things you need to do in a timely manner. And it's not just a Nigerian thing, but especially for us, where we can't afford businesses today, especially with the economy as the way it is. I mean, this is serious for businesses. We can't afford to lose our credibility at a time like this.
Okay. So I think we have like barely 7 minutes left to round this up. So we'll just be pretty fast. So ransomware mitigation steps. However, I think the slides will be available to all attendees after the webinar. We'll send you the slides so you can look through, and we'll also send you the webcast as well, so you can watch at your spare time. But ransomware mitigation steps, can we just brush through that?
Okay. Mitigation steps for ransomware. First of all, let me go back to our WannaCry. Why it got so much attention and so much widespread is because of the patching of an old OS that is supposed to be done that was not done. Even those OS are meant to have even been upgraded. Okay, so patching is one of them. For our systems that we have in our enterprise, let's be faithful with patching and upgrade. Also, we need to have backups, reliable backups, not just backups, reliable backups of every data that we have within our organization. And awareness is very important. I can tell you, within an organization, you can have less than 2% of malicious persons within an organization, not even outside. Okay, in an organization, everybody can be compromised. You have 100% compromise rate within an organization, because compromise can come from social engineering, phishing, spear phishing, beating, any way it comes. So awareness is very important. Awareness and training is very important, so that our compromise level within the organization is very, very much reduced.
And also, like we said again, if you are attacked, or you've got a ransomware issue, don't pay the ransomware. Mm-hmm. As best as possible, do not. It is tempting. It's like, okay, you know what, these guys, I don't want their trouble. Let me just pay and continue with my work. Trust me, you've just made them your best friend. And the problem is, if you pay, they go away, they try some other unsuccessful attacks. They're like, hey, these guys paid us last time. Yeah. There's no guarantee that they will leave you alone. It's like assuming that if armed robbers come to your house and you don't do what you need to do after they leave, they won't come back again.
Yeah.
They'll come back again. So, instead consult your technology partners, consult us. Why not? And we will, will actually guide you through what you need to do. But hopefully, it doesn't get to that point.
So that leads us to the next slide. So, what solutions do we offer at Signal Alliance?
Yeah, so we've built up a pretty robust security portfolio, of solutions across the board, But for the interest of this webinar, obviously we'll talk about what our ransomware, or anti-malware solutions really are. We've got strong partnerships with industry leaders in security, Cisco, Checkpoint, and Sophos, and Microsoft. I know a lot of people might be looking and saying, "Hey, why Microsoft?" But if you think about it, Microsoft owns the market share. I doubt that there's anybody who's listening to us right now who doesn't run their business on Microsoft. And because of that, Microsoft is usually the target for these people. And Microsoft knows this. So part of the reason what they do is roll out updates, roll out new OSs. For instance, Victor talked about operating systems that were old and more vulnerable. You could say it's for them to make money, but also it addresses concerns that previous versions, didn't address. So if you're on the latest version, for instance, you're covered for most of the threats that we already know, and even some that we don't know about. And they've got a malware protection center as well. So they have a vested interest. And we are Microsoft partners. So we're partners with all of these guys, but we always advocate, why don't you start from securing what you run your business on? So do that first of all. And I'm sure my colleagues can talk about some of the others. You can talk about Cisco as well.
So briefly, can we just talk about
for Cisco, for these attacks to happen, of course, they always usually have in contact with the DNS registration. So for every phishing attack that is coming in, most of them initially the DNS might have not been registered. That's the domain name of the attacker might not be registered, and by the point of when they now want to extract data from your endpoint or from your devices is when they will now have this registered. So what Cisco does is there's a Cisco umbrella solution which detects the rate of DNS requests from this domain name. So how many DNS queries that have been sent back and forth from that domain name, that will be, that is what they will now be able to determine, oh, is this DNS, is this domain name credible enough to be allowed for an endpoint to get the request from that. So that is what the Cisco umbrella do. And then for AMP as well, AMP works also in conjunction to check on your attachment. So if there is a form of how would I put it? If there's a form of the payload exactly. If the payload on the file, there's an additional payload that has been added to the attachment, it could be PDF most often, and that will be detected by the AMP solution. It could be either on an endpoint AMP or on the perimeter, which is on the firewall. And another thing I want to add quickly was that when I'm talking about security, major focus is always on endpoint and perimeter, which is internet facing. The security measure has to be in the entire 360-degree focus. You have the perimeter, endpoint, and then have a security that analyzes the flow of packets on your network. So end to end, you know the packet that is flowing from endpoint A to endpoint B. That will guarantee real security measure. And also, there are numerous of solutions which everybody will get. Oh, I need checkpoint, I've acquired checkpoint, I need Cisco, I acquired Cisco. All this should be able to guarantee my security. yes, they should be able to guarantee security, but there's a form of way in which you need to be able to understand how each of these works. So if checkpoint detects something, Cisco detects something, there should be a single dashboard that is able to manage these two together and say, hey, I understand what is coming from checkpoint and relate it with Cisco and relate it with endpoints. So that offer the full guarantee and also relate it with the antivirus running on each endpoint. So that is what guarantees the full form of security protection.
Okay,
So,
like what Mr. Inka is saying, in addition to what he said, it's like having a unified security architecture, unified management, so that when you have different security appliance in your network, you should be able to have a unified architecture for all of them. Monitoring is very key. In a single pane of glass, you should be able to see each segment of your network where you have applied your security.
okay, so just to wrap up, and talk about, for instance, our checkpoints and so forth solutions, and even Cisco. What I believe our customers should be asking themselves when they are thinking of a good ransomware solution, and understand that what these OEMs are doing is they're packaging the ransomware functionality into their existing endpoint protection services and solutions. So there are two major things you should ask. First of all, how does this solution detect ransomware? Remember, we started with an ongoing mantra that ransomware is sophisticated. Part of the sophistication is that it is very smart at evading detection. So it will evade your firewall, it will evade your regular endpoint protection, and it will just start encrypting, and you say, well, I've got all this. So, part of the offerings, that these guys do is say, look, we've got behavioral analytic detection as well. So it's not just signature based, but I can protect you against 0 day. I know how these guys usually behave. And if I see someone that starts encrypting, then I'm going to be able to stop it. The second thing is, well, what if it starts encrypting? How do I recover my data? So some of these solutions like Checkpoint Sandblast and Sophos Intercept X, right? They provide snapshots of your files periodically. So if it starts encrypting and it detects and stops the ransomware, it can also recover your files as well. So it's not necessarily decryption, but it's recovering it to the previous state it is, which is better than just losing it. And that previous state might be what it was before, because how many files do you really go through and update all the time? So those are major things to consider.
Okay, so in summary, I don't know, can we have let's say 20 seconds to summarize each of us? Kelechi first.
Running through it quickly, ransomware is very, very easy to use. So there are a lot of attackers out there, right? It's not just about the businesses, right? And they're in it to make money. So you are in danger if you're not doing the right things, right? Email is the biggest vector. It's the easiest way, social engineering, phishing. Don't pay the ransomware. It can be costlier than getting a solution. It's better for you to invest in a solution before you even get affected in the first place. But even before the solution, do the right things, the patch updates, the mitigation steps. Make sure you've got, your disaster recovery, your updates, your backups, all of those things that you need to do to mitigate, your risk vector. And, but finally, you do need the ransomware solution. And that's what.
So Victor.
Okay, for me, I will say a breach will always happen. So it's a responsibility to not be an enabler. Do what you're supposed to do. Provide the necessary protection you're supposed to provide within your enterprise. And some of the solutions we have here gives you CPU OS level protection, so that before it leaves the exploitation stage, it is being taken care of. Because you have the vulnerability exploitation, invasion, and the malware. At the exploitation stage, it is being taken care of.
Yeah, for me, I would say there is no OEM that can actually guarantee you 100% of security safety. That's the truth.